Chapter 18. Lana's worry was evident as she inquired whether Adelmo had contacted the police regarding the incident. Adelmo's response was filled with uncertainty, explaining that he refrained from doing so as he believed he wouldn't be able to provide an accurate description of the perpetrators due to the speed at which everything had transpired. Lana, still concerned for his well-being, then asked if he had sought medical attention by visiting the hospital. Adelmo's reply to Lana's second question was dismissive, claiming that he didn't need to go to the hospital as he reassured her that he would be fine and there was nothing to be concerned about. Despite Lana's persistence in ensuring his safety, Adelmo seemed adamant in his decision to not seek medical help. Instead, he decided to excuse himself and headed towards the back to make a phone call to his grandfather. As Adelmo walked away to make the call, Lana couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that lingered within her. She couldn't help but worry about Adelmo's well-being, especially after the unsettling incident that had just occurred. Lana hoped that Adelmo would reconsider his decision and prioritize his health by seeking medical attention, even if he claimed that he was fine. She stood there, contemplating whether she should insist on accompanying him to the hospital or respect his choice to handle the situation on his own. As he punched in the familiar digits on his phone, Adelmo felt a rush of nostalgia wash over him. The phone rang a few times before a familiar voice answered. "Hello?" It was his grandfather on the other end of the line. Adelmo couldn't help but smile as he replied, "Hello, grandfather. How are you doing?" The warmth in his grandfather's voice was comforting. "I am doing well. Did you get the package I sent to you?" Adelmo's heart swelled with gratitude as he recalled the thoughtful gesture. "Yes, I received it and was planning to call you soon to express my thanks. I didn't realize it was urgent," he admitted. His grandfather's response was filled with understanding. "That's all right, but I wanted you to know more about your roots, your family history." Adelmo nodded. "I do want to know, but I have some responsibilities to take care of here first. I promise I will visit soon. Just give me some time." His grandfather chuckled softly. "Take your time, but remember to call me when you're ready for the tickets." Adelmo's eyes lit up at the mention of a free trip. "Absolutely. I'll make sure to do that. Any chance for a free ride is always welcome." They shared a moment of laughter before his grandfather's tone turned serious. "I'll fill you in on some family matters when you visit. Things have been a bit chaotic lately." Adelmo nodded. "I look forward to hearing all about it. I'll talk to you soon. Take care." With that, they bid each other goodbye and ended the call, leaving Adelmo with a sense of anticipation for the upcoming family reunion. Adelmo rose from his seat, feeling lightheaded once more, prompting him to quickly find a place to sit back down. He remained seated for a considerable amount of time, waiting for the dizziness to subside. Once he felt steady on his feet again, he decided to stand up and make his way to the police station to meet up with his friend Nick. Despite his apprehension about driving, Adelmo believed it was necessary in order to move around independently without inconveniencing others. After a cautious drive, Adelmo arrived at the police station and was surprised to see Nick engaged in conversation with a student who aspired to become a detective. The sight of his friend and the aspiring detective chatting animatedly outside the station brought a smile to Adelmo's face. He carefully maneuvered his car into a parking spot, eager to join the conversation and catch up with Nick after his recent spell of dizziness. As Nick watched Adelmo step out of his car, he quickly wrapped up his conversation with the student before turning his attention to his friend. Despite the initial challenges he faced with his health earlier in the day, Adelmo was grateful to have made it to the police station to spend time with his friend and engage in interesting conversations. As they continued their discussion, Adelmo felt a sense of relief and contentment, knowing that he had overcome his initial reservations about driving and had successfully reunited with his buddy Nick. Concern etched across his face. Nick asked if he was all right. Adelmo's response was a weary one, admitting that he was struggling to make it through the day. Not one to mince words, Nick couldn't help but comment on Adelmo's appearance. "You look like crap," he said, "but I know you'll bounce back. I made sure to take you to the hospital earlier to rule out any serious injuries, like a concussion. Thankfully, you turned out fine, which is why I brought you home." Nick's genuine concern for his friend was evident in his actions. Curiosity got the better of Adelmo as he remembered something he had forgotten to ask earlier. "By the way," he began, Did you happen to find anything unusual at the crime scene you were investigating last night? Like animal hair or something? Nick's response was honest, admitting that he hadn't been actively searching for such evidence. However, Adelmo's question sparked a realization in Nick's mind. "Come to think of it," he replied, "I did notice similar traces at the other crime scenes. That's why I suggested it might be an animal from the zoo." Adelmo's next question about lab testing prompted Nick to confess that he hadn't taken any samples, simply assuming that the culprit was indeed an animal. Adelmo felt his head spinning once more from the overwhelming amount of thoughts racing through his mind. He decided to take a seat on the wooden bench position right in front of the imposing police station. The cool breeze brushed against his face, providing a momentary relief from the stress that had been building up inside him. Frustration began to bubble up within Adelmo as he turned to Nick and posed a question that had been gnawing at him. "Isn't it your responsibility to unravel this mystery? To determine whether the culprit behind this chaos is a wild animal or a human being?" His voice carried a hint of exasperation, a mix of urgency and impatience. Adelmo's frustration reached its peak when Nick responded with a hint of resignation in his voice. "Yes, it is indeed my duty to investigate, but I never anticipated that the source of this disturbance could be anything other than a creature from the wild." The realization that a crucial piece of evidence had slipped through their fingers left Adelmo seething with disappointment. The missed opportunity to analyze the DNA sample only added to his growing sense of unease and dissatisfaction.